This one's a doozy in managing emotions. And maybe I would say from a non-basketball context, I think one of the most beautiful gifts Dina gave me in her mentorship. And so she taught me this concept that I'm going to teach now to you, which is a somewhat of a Buddhist kind of mixed with other Eastern traditions, kind of with a Dina twist on it, right? And so I'm going to categorize it as something you may have heard or others heard, but I'm going to change some of the description. So what Dina taught me was what she called inviting anger to tea. Inviting anger to tea, right? Like you sit down and have tea with someone, you invite anger to tea. And so I would encourage you, especially as a North American, right? We view things as good or bad, right? Happiness is good, sadness is bad, right? Frustration is bad, anger is bad, right? Joy is good, glee is good, whatever. So I would encourage you to stop labeling anything as good or bad. And I'd put a big star on my notes. View every emotion as part of the human experience. View every emotion as part of the human experience. And I'm going to encourage you to use quotes here on this next one. View every quote negative, right? I put quotes around negative. View every negative emotion as deepening your experience of the emotion on the opposite side of that spectrum. View every quote negative experience or emotion, as deepening your perspective or experience of the emotion on the opposite side of that spectrum. So let me give you the example that Dina gave me 15 years ago or 12 years ago. So let's take happiness and sadness, right? Let's say that you can experience both of these. The scale goes to 10 on both sides. And I'll use a personal example in my life. Like I've had a really pretty easy life, born in America, a white male to a middle income family, right? Like when you think of the tragedies of genocide and all these other things that could have happened, I've had a very cush life. So I would say I've probably only experienced sadness up until 2018, like at a 3. And I probably experienced happiness, up to a 4 or 5. Apparently, like having a child is indescribable happiness. Apparently, having a grandchild is even more, whatever. So let's say I'm at a 5 and a 3. So my spectrum to experience those two things is actually 8. My range is 8. Okay. Now, in 2018, I had a horrifically painful thing happen to me. Okay. And I would say I experienced pain at like a 6, maybe a 7. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, my ability to experience happiness dramatically increased because of perspective. Now, that 6 in happiness is no longer a 6 in happiness because I've experienced a 7 in sadness. It's now 13. The spectrum went from 8 to 13. So that sadness actually increased my ability to experience happiness on a deeper level because it has further perspective. So I no longer view things as negative or positive, right, in that context. When something happens, I don't try to hold on to the positive emotions longer and those experiences. I don't try to avoid the negatives and deflect and or ignore and or put it, deep into my subconscious. I welcome it all and I sit with it. And that fucking sucks sometimes. It's not pleasurable, but it is important for my long-term happiness. My closest friends in 2018 did not believe my reaction to that pain because it was they thought that I wasn't processing it. But what they didn't understand is I've practiced this for 11 years. And although it was deeply painful, I was sitting at tea with it and experiencing it, allowing myself to experience the pain and the heartache and the sadness and be okay with that. All the while knowing, and not so that I can experience happiness in a deeper way. That's not the why. The why is I'm a human having an experience. And this is part of that beautiful human experience. And when you get to that space, it's very hard for any storm to rock your boat, because rather than viewing it as I am sad, and I would encourage you to change your verbiage. Stop thinking I am sad. Stop thinking I am angry. I am frustrated. Put this phrase in your notes. I am a human experiencing the feeling of sadness. I am a human experiencing the feeling of sadness. You are not sad. It is all momentary. You are a human in a particular part of the human experience. I am a human experiencing the feeling of sadness. It is temporary. And that is how I'm able to manage both, quote, positive and, quote, negative emotions, because I'm able to step outside of myself, right? And see those things. Is it hard sometimes? Oh, incredibly hard, but insanely valuable. What questions do you have about that very, very important topic?